Michel, you're out here in Venice Beach. You're homeless. Tell me about it.
What would you like to know? Like my perspective of Venice Beach homelessness, or?
Well, how'd you end up here?
Okay, I worked for somebody in the Bay Area I worked in a restaurant in a Bay Area in San Francisco. After having had a first week of the month paycheck bounce for the third time, my landlady decided that she had enough. So one night, I think it was in early March, before the 5th, I came home to end of March, I came home to a cease and desist 5-day notice, meaning that I either paid her rent on time for the month of April, or I would be sent out packing. At the time, because my check bounced, I didn't have enough money to cover rent, and even though we had a verbal agreement that she would actually let me go through waiting for the check to clear, etc., she still decided to toss me out. So I took whatever money I had, jumped on a train to here, because I was like, if I'm going to be out in the street, I might as well be somewhere where I'm a little warmer than in San Fran. And I've been out here since mid-April.
So what's homelessness like?
Homeless is everything you ever heard it was and isn't. The thing about being homeless in Venice is that I learned from being here that you can go to different food banks like Tabernacle 3 times a week and get a certain amount of food. You can get food on Saturday and Sunday at the food drop-off over by Dudley and Rose. You can meet Pastor Mike on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for a friendly chat and hot dogs. It involves a lot of this. Being woken up by your friendly LAPD officers at all times of day and night, or as far as I'm concerned, night, because I don't sleep out during the day. But they'll come and rouse you up at 2, 3 in the morning and tell you to get the F out. And depending on how they feel, they might arrest you and take all your stuff, until more recently when LASA stepped up their effort to control the police presence and the police abuse of their powers and how they treat homeless people. Overall, I would say that it's not as bad as I thought as it could have been. And even though I had to spend 5 days in the hospital from getting a finger infected and cut off while trying to make some lunch money by helping one of these vendors out here, Venice is probably like one of the best places in the world to be a homeless person, I think, just because of people out here are so kind and giving.
What would you want housed people to know about homelessness that they probably don't know?
Well, as somebody who's been in this country since I was 17 and worked for 33 years, and, you know, I've had my fair share of experiences trying to make paycheck to paycheck and monthly rent payment, etc., etc. I think that what I want people to take home from when they look at homeless people is that it's just another human being that, by what I would call 90% of the time, circumstances and put people out on the streets. It's not, people don't choose to sleep out in the street. Like, homelessness can happen to anyone, especially with the kind of economic up and downs that you've had in this country for the past like 10, 50 years, when you've had multiple financial crises hit various sectors of the economy.
I say it like this, is that bathrooms are really a cool thing.
Yeah.
You know, toilet, showers, privacy.
Right.
You know, nobody intentionally says, you know, I'm going to live without bathrooms.
Right.
You know?
Well, nobody intentionally says I'm going to go piss on a building because there's no open toilets at 3 in the morning, so...
Right.
Thank God for the sand, is all I can tell you.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is people complain about that, but there's no place for anybody to go.
But here's the thing. Like, if you really want me to give you something that I think people could do about homelessness in any city in this country is pay attention to who you vote for and what they stand for when they look at your less fortunate members of society. Because homeless is something that has become more and more of a problem in this country for a reason. And the people that people have voted for have actually helped that make a worse problem than it is.
I agree. So what's the future? Anybody trying to help you?
Future is I'm working with LASA, trying to move on to some kind of, what do they call them? 90-day shelters, or no, there's a word for it. It's like a
Bridge shelter?
Yeah, like a bridge to housing shelter, which I think the bridge to housing shelter out here is set to open in February.
Yeah.
So that's what we're waiting for, hopefully.
So you'll be on your way off the streets.
Hopefully. I'm crossing my fingers, but I'm also the type of person that, because I've always worked hard throughout my life, once the injury I have that keeps me from working right now because of like being on meds and potentially contagious and causing all sorts of other health related issues, like through the medication that I'm on, like I barely can walk because it affects my bones. I'm going to try, once I'm healed, I'm going to try my best to try and find whatever way I have to get back to being a contributing member of society so that I can actually come back here and hopefully do something like you do on a weekly basis to try and help people out.
Well, the bridge housing will help because you need, like we were talking, bathrooms, a good night's sleep,
a hot shower.
How do you keep a job if you can't shower?
All right. How do you keep a job if you can't hire clothes? I'm from the restaurant industry. You always have to look spiffy in the front of the house, So,
if you had 3 wishes, what would they be?
Let's see. Probably none of them would be personal. 3 wishes. Number 1, impeach the current president. Number 2, stop throwing money at homelessness and actually throw the money at solving the issue by creating more jobs, by creating more affordable housing, by creating laws that target the amount of rent can be raised, especially in states like California, where I know people in San Francisco whose rent was raised like $500 every 6 months. And having lived in the East Coast in DC, all new buildings are required to have what you call affordable housing and rent control.
Yeah.
No matter how expensive the units are, they have to have a percentage of the housing within those buildings that's dedicated to Section 8.
Yep.
And rent increases of like 2 to 3%, not 25 to 50%.
Wish number 3.
Wish number 3? Damn, that's a tough one. Wish number 3 is to be able to get off the street and actually be able to devote a certain amount of my time helping people who are on the street.
Well, it's going to happen soon.
All right.
Thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you for talking to me, sir. And for the socks, which are priceless out here.
Yeah.